Hey guys, the Edge RSC here, and welcome back to my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. This is part 2. We are in Bahrain for the second race weekend of the season. Obviously not the best starting weekend out in Australia. Looking to make the most of this weekend here in Bahrain. So as you can see, out doing my practice programs here. A lot better than I was doing them in Australia, I must admit. Now, I just felt so much more comfortable going into this weekend than I did in Australia. The car felt so much better. Bahrain is a track I normally do quite well at anyway, but it just everything felt so much better than it did in Australia. I felt a lot more confident going into to this race than I did out in Australia. As you see, the end of P1 was actually the quickest car in the grid, but I was the only car that went out on a set of soft tyres because I'd done my qualifying pace. Lots of R&D points coming in for the practice programs. As you see, obviously you've got to get those points in to get those upgrades on the car and get ourselves competitive with the other cars on the grid. But as we move in now to my qualifying lap, I do only run one-shot qualifying. Because when I used to run the short qualifying, but I never did enough laps, and I'm not good enough at managing my tyres properly for it. So one-shot qualifying, if I mess it up, I mess it up. If I absolutely smash it, then great. But that is what I run. And getting into my run here, you can see that actually coming out of the first DRS section there, I'm actually in P1 here. The car, as I said, was feeling good. I didn't realise it was feeling this good. My AI isn't the highest. I think at this point it was on 70. It's up now, but I ended F1 2019 on 80 AI, so I wanted to make it a little bit less, just so I could get used to this here. So I think at this point it was on 70, so I know it's not the highest, but for me it was still a challenge, as you saw with how the race and qualifying and everything in Australia went. Not a good race at all, not a good weekend at all. But yeah, the car's just absolutely flying around this qualifying lap. P4 at this point here. Not really where this car should be. Alright, dropped a little bit down to P6 here, but the car is massively outperforming itself, but it does occasionally happen that a car will outperform itself. So I didn't read too much into the qualifying lap. I didn't adjust anything. I just went to the race as it was with this here. But as you see, I'm going to come across the line in P6 for the Bahrain Grand Prix. So a nice grid position to start off with. And yeah, it gives us a good position to go and look at attacking the points positions. As you see there, Jack Aitken actually did qualify in 14th as well. So although I was still above, probably, definitely where I should be, the car itself did quite well around this track. I say Aitken up in 14th. It would have been into Q2. So the car definitely performing well around this circuit. Move in here, then we get the acclaim for the qualifying lap. Nothing massively changed from that, but we get into the race now. And as I said in Australia, I don't do too much tweaking with that, but I just like to make sure my fuel's okay. And as we get into the race here in Bahrain, we are underway. And we get an incredible start here. We jumped so many cars off that start line. Remember, we started P6. But coming in to this first corner here, yes, we cut it a bit again, just like in Australia, but we are in P2 after that first corner. I'm not sure if and where I collided with Vettel there. I didn't notice it, and obviously he was still in front of us. I thought if anything the contact would have been with Leclerc, but I didn't get anything for that. But I didn't think I'd made any contact with Vettel. But we're going to settle into this first lap here in P2 after that great start and jumping everyone into turn 1. I've noticed on this game the AI don't seem to be very quick off the line, and at this point here I wasn't utilising the overtake button off the start line, which I started to do in later races. But as we move forward here now then, on the second lap of this Grand Prix, went too wide there coming off of there, and that opened the door for Leclerc, and he just ate that up. And that's what I say, although I qualified high and I'm in a high position here, higher than I should be, these top cars are still just leagues ahead. Look, Vettel's already 3 seconds up the road after 2 laps, and now Leclerc, one mistake, he's in front. I did have a look at him here though. After that, we try and get round the outside. I left him the room on the inside, but I held on round the outside and got the move done as we went back to the inside there. And I got the DRS as well. I was behind in the detection zone. Leclerc again pokes his nose through. This time I didn't give him probably as much room as I should have, but we kept him out, we kept him at bay, and we are going to hold on to P2 for now. Already in this race, so much more action than I had in Australia. There wasn't really any moves or anything in Melbourne, but there was plenty going on in this race as we move on to lap 5. A little bit slow going around that bend there, but as we come for this sharp left-hander, Lewis tries to go round the outside, and he slid off the track, absolutely flew into that corner, and he paid the penalty for that because he was very much out of control, and that was good to see because he was starting to chase me down, and it was only a matter of time, I think, before he got ahead of me. But as we move forward to the end of lap 5 onto the start of lap 6, Bottas has a look here down the straight. Look at the speed he's got there, but again we just hold on round the outside into turn 1, switching then to the inside here, and we are going to stay ahead of Bottas. He does have the DRS on us though, and he comes round the outside here again, looking to get to the inside on this turn, but again, just the same as Leclerc earlier, I just closed that space off and didn't give him the room to get through as we want to push on with our race. Now, realistically, I shouldn't have been fighting these guys. I should have let them go through. They're not the guys I was racing. But I felt like I was able to defend them. This ERS overtake button, I feel like it's quite overpowered. As you see, Gasly out of the session here. I feel like it's quite overpowered, and it helps me keep in front of even these cars that I shouldn't be in front of. And Vettel was ahead of me. It wasn't doing anything to help me catch him. He was gone. But the cars behind it was helping me stay ahead, so I felt like I could compete as long as I had the track position. But anyway, we come in here now, lap 7 for our pit stop. Seb was in before us, and he's already got out again. That such is his gap over me at this point here. Checking behind to see, make sure we didn't get jumped in the pit lane, which we didn't. We come out still in essentially the same position we were, provisional P2, which is good. Still, Vettel is the car directly ahead of us as well. We closed the gap ever so slightly, but again, we're not going to catch him. We're not trying to catch him. We're just trying to race our race and stay as high as we can, because I was expecting the Red Bulls and the Mercedes and Leclerc just to absolutely bomb past me. So just doing whatever I can to stay ahead, and we just come out here ahead of Bottas as he comes out the pit lane. We are just ahead of him, so we hold on to that position above Bottas, which was crucial, as I say, for just staying as high as I could in this race. As we come now onto lap 10 down the straight, Bottas again gets ahead of us on the straight, but again he's very early on the brakes, and we hold again round the outside onto the inside, and we are going to hold on to that position yet again, but it does give Bottas the DRS, and you see me looking behind there to check he wasn't getting too close to me. I was doing whatever I could to keep him behind me, because I knew that if he got ahead he was absolutely going to fly, and he was just going to open me up to the cars behind. So the fact that he was there was helping me stay higher in this. As soon as he gets past me, I'm just going to fall like a stone. So I've got to just keep him there at this point, which I was managing to do, and I feel like I was managing to do it quite well as well, and cleanly as well. I am normally one for contact in turns, as you've seen through the first couple of races, but I've been doing it cleanly and keeping him behind. But here we go, very next lap, lap 11, pit straight yet again. Here comes Bottas flying down the inside once more. doesn't quite get as far ahead this time, and again we just hold him off into the as we switch to the inside. But as soon as he gets that DRS open, he is away from us and into P2. So that is now our strategy of keeping behind us to keep our gap gone. It's helped me, I've got a 2-second gap to Albon at this point. There's only a few laps to go, but I was really worried. And you'll see why in a second. Look at this. Before we get to the next DRS zone, Bottas is already near enough out of DRS range. That's how quick these cars are. So that even though I'm ahead of where I should be on the track, these guys are still so much better than me that as soon as he's in front of me, he is just gone. And Albon's already closing that gap to me. So I say it was just a case of stay as high as I could in this race now, and try and hold on to as high a position as I could. As we come round here on lap 12, got a little bit closer to Bottas there, but not close enough to make any kind of move. Again, just trying to use the slipstream if possible as we go really wide here. We thankfully didn't pay for it. Albon wasn't quite close enough to capitalise on that, and we still obviously had the DRS on Bottas to help get ourselves away again. So lucky that Albon wasn't any closer to us there, or he would have taken P3 from us. Round here now as we come down the pit straight to start our final lap of the race, and as you can see, Albon is hot on our tail now, 2 tenths behind. He's got the DRS. I'm nervously looking behind me because I know he's coming, and there he goes down that straight again. But the same as Leclerc, the same as Bottas, I get the later brake, I hold it around the outside, switch to the inside, and I manage to keep him behind me on the on that exit there, and I keep myself in P3, and we are now on the last lap of the race. I know as long as I can get a clean lap here and a good lap, I am finishing on the podium in just our second race in F1. Now I know obviously that it's not necessarily realistic, and it's not where the car should be, but I feel I merited it from the way I raced the race. I say, look at Bottas has already got so far ahead, and you see Albon making the same mistake as Hamilton, just getting too wide, trying to go around me in that turn, and it just helped me pull away and hold on again to the position that he probably should have taken in that corner. But yeah, I feel like I raced a good race here. The cars ahead of me were pulling away. I couldn't do anything to catch them, but I managed myself well enough to keep the other cars behind me, and I defended my position as well as I could, and I feel like I merited my place on the podium as a result of that. And as you see here, as we come round to the final couple of corners, Vettel does take the checkered flag, still nervously looking behind me to see where Albon is as we come to the end of the race. But I do hold on, and I do get onto the podium in 3rd place, our first podium in our My Team career mode in only the 2nd race, and I do feel like it was merited from the way I raced that race.
So that was an exciting race from our perspective. Let's have yours. You were cutting your way through the field during the race.
I'll be honest, I didn't really cut my way through the field. I just
Everything
sort of
went your way today.
cut through the first corner and held it.
Really good strategy
sure.
for the race.
And in terms of strategy, that was my strategy. Just hold on as long as possible, and I thankfully managed to stay on the podium.
What's your secret?
Not really a secret. I just got lucky.
Do you have any comments about the collisions?
And yeah, again, see that collision it said I had with Vettel at the start of the race. I'm not sure. I don't think I did collide with him, but I've noticed there's a few times on this game. I've had a few practice sessions and qualifying laps where it says I've hit walls and I've had the perfectly clean laps. So I don't know if that's just broken at the moment and waiting for a patch. But as we see here, Team Acclaim now up to level 4, 96,000 bonus for the no DNFs in the team, and 100,000 for the team bonuses as we come through here. So it's time now to obviously set our activities for the free time. A lot more of a gap this time than there was between the Australian Grand Prix and this one. A bit more gap between this and Hanoi to actually get some of these activities in place and earn some money and R&D and driver points. So you've got to make the most of these sessions, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. Trying to do the best for my team and get as many of these in as possible and use all the available days. But as you see here, looking at the standings, 15 points in the championship we got for that. And that is going to wrap up our Bahrain race weekend. I will be back for round 3 of the season in Hanoi, but for now, that will wrap this one up, and I am out.